Welcome to SEC Second Look on AL.com, coming to you from the Shrimp Basket on the Old Shell Road in Mobile. NFL draft time. Start by talking about the Auburn Tigers. One sure first-round draft pick, Greg Robinson. Another D4 is a possible first-rounder. Mike, this is going to probably be a deep draft for Auburn.
Yeah, certainly there's several other guys that are further down the draft, but Greg Robinson should be a top 5 pick. Could go as high as number 2 overall to St. Louis Rams. And then D Ford's a guy that may have worked himself into the first round with a great performance at the Senior Bowl. Some concern he may slip out of the first round, but certainly will be a high draft pick in the draft somewhere.
I know you think Ford is a good value. Let's just talk about some guys who might be a really good value where they could be drafted in this NFL draft from Auburn.
Well, Ford's one that comes to mind. If he slips out of the first round, somebody's going to get themselves a great pass rusher here. The guy's a speed rusher coming off the edge, could transition to a 3-4 outside linebacker. I think he could put on weight and possibly play a 4-3 end in the NFL. So depending on who took him and what their plans were for him, I think they're going to get a great pass rusher either way. Another guy that I think is going to be further down the draft, may not even get drafted, but it's going to make an NFL roster somewhere, is Jay Prosh. Fullbacks are not guys that normally get drafted very high. Not all teams use traditional fullbacks, but for those that do use fullbacks, this guy is, if you were going to find a picture in a dictionary of what a fullback ought to look like and ought to play like, it's Jay Prosh.
Yeah, who knows where he's going to go, but probably the best guy at his position. At that fullback position, can also play H-back. I think he's even experimented a little bit with tight end to show he could be a versatile player with special teams. It's a guy you want to have on the roster.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no question about it. Anybody else on the Auburn side that jumps out to you, maybe a possible value pick?
Well, certainly Trey Mason is I would argue, the top running back in the country last year, regardless of the stats, just the way he played and the way he carried that Auburn offense. I think he's probably a second-round pick. There's a group of running backs that are all together based on, depending on what teams want. If they want a bigger between-the-tackles guy, there's a collection of backs that can fit that role. If they want somebody who's more in the open field, game breaker type of guy, there's a collection of backs that fit that mold. So I think depending on which team decides to take a running back first, that's going to determine who it is, but I think Trey Mason is certainly among the best running backs available.
I think Carlos Hyde from Ohio State is probably the top competition, but for my money,
Bishop Sankey from Washington would be another one.
For my money, I think that the Auburn back is the best back in this draft, Trey Mason, and we'll see how that plays out. It should be a deep draft for the Auburn Tigers this NFL draft.